Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Amish Rebel podcast. We greatly appreciate you guys watching and you leaving your comments and subscribing to the channel if you haven't done so yet. Today we're going to cover a topic about the Amish dating life, and we're going to interview these newlyweds that just got married. Turns out Eli did show up a few episodes back. I teased Lovina that he wouldn't show up, or I had my doubts. But I was just teasing. She thought I was for real. So we appreciate you guys tuning in. Today's episode should be very interesting, to say the least. And hopefully you can learn something about the Amish by listening to today's episode. We're going to get right into it. And kind of what we're looking to do here is just play out their lives in a way that if they would have stayed Amish, what would it have looked like for their dating life, and then also for them to get married amongst the Amish, which they did not. But Lovina has some experience in dating. I have a little bit of experience in dating in the Amish, and I was definitely with the youth for quite a few years before I left the Amish. And so my first question to you, Lovina, is like, when, like, we talked about this in another episode. I can't remember where it was, but we briefly talked about dating amongst the Amish. But when did they normally start dating?
So they join the youth usually, or in the sportsmanship community where I grew up in, join the youth at 16 and a half. The youth is like a group that's dating age. So 16 and a half up until they get married is their youth group. And once you're 16 and a half, you're allowed to start dating. Okay.
So, and 16 and a half is just a number that they picked, right? I mean, like, it's not the half. I guess in some communities they go at 16. I've heard of that.
Yeah, but, in some of the communities.
But in our communities, it was 16 and a half.
Yeah.
And that's when the males also start smoking the pipe. They're allowed to use tobacco to some extent. And what else did they get? They get like a youth, they get a black hat.
Wool hat?
Yeah, a wool hat at that point, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
But don't they have those at a younger age?
No.
Or it might be a bigger rim or something. I'm not sure.
When they get married, it's when they get the bigger rim.
They get the bigger rim when they get married. I know that. But I'm pretty sure they get a black hat when they're 16.
Oh, you wear your black hat during the summer instead of switching to straw.
Oh, that's what it is, yeah. See, it's been so long since I've been out. 15 years probably since I've been out. So I can't remember all the specifics anymore. I just remember that there was something about the hat, because it's like, I still have my hat from when I was in the youth, my first hat. And then there's also, I guess at 14 you quit wearing suspenders, right?
Once you get out of school.
Once you get out of school. So you feel like you're a man.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, we're getting sidetracked. I wanted to talk about dating. So at 16 and a half, you start dating. So what would that have been like if you and Eli would have, like, gone on your first date? Like, tell me the details of what would have had to happen for you guys to go on your first date.
Oh my gosh, that makes me like shiver.
I don't know exactly, because I never had the experience.
I'm not so sure he would have turned out to be my husband if we would have had to date like that. I don't know, but it's overall just disgusting in my opinion. Like, I don't know.
Okay, but the people want to know.
Okay.
They don't know any details.
If we would have dated Amish, more than likely we would have met at a wedding somewhere.
Wait, you could have met, couldn't you have met through a mutual friend of Eli's or yourself that thought that maybe you guys should have been together?
No. Not
Like,
really,
Yeah,
no.
because you guys were in different states.
Yeah, we were
about
in
that. Like,
completely different states. So we would have, like, somehow there would have had to be a wedding or some reason for those two communities, for both of us to be at the same place at the same time.
Yeah, that's right.
So that could have been very complicated, but let's get past that. We would have met. And then, wherever we would have been, they would have asked Eli if he wants to go on a date with me. And if he would have said yes, then they would have come and asked me. And if I would have said yes, then they would have...
They
Meaning the group of boys from the youth group that aren't married yet, that are
So it's
single.
mostly the boys that
It's the boys that arrange the dates.
Okay, so it's the girls don't arrange any dating.
The girls just say yes or no. That is all they do.
Okay.
And then the boys...
Sounds like a dictatorship to me.
Yes, honestly.
And the boys, like the group of single boys would have brought him to my bedroom and we would have spent the night together. And then the next morning I would have told him if I want to go on dating him or not. And then, since we would have been long distance, he would have gone home to his community and we would have exchanged addresses and we would have just written letters. And every couple of months, maybe, we would have gone to visit each other by bus or train.
But you gotta give me more detail. Like, this is very
I know,
vague.
but it's
You're skipping a lot of details.
That's like the short version of it.
So the boys would have asked you. This is what I want to know. Like, the boys would have asked you, and if you would have said no, and he would have said yes, they would have still considered putting you two together.
Oh, yes. If he would have said yes and I would have said no, they would have still thought there's a possibility. Like, they would have tried their best to convince me to say yes.
Well, even if you would have refused, there's a chance that they would have done what's called the tying together of...
Oh.
That's like schnitz, right?
Oh.
Like, yeah. It's where a couple, like, the girl says no, but I mean, this even happens when they both say no, right?
Yeah.
It happens.
You don't really have a choice in the shit.
Yeah.
That's like, you have to do it.
Oh,
There's
that's
no
what we
getting out
talked
of it.
about in the other
That's
episode.
how you get started dating. You have to be schnitz first, which is like your first kiss.
Yeah.
Wait, even if you wanna,
even
be
if
together?
you don't want, like, you have to get schnitzed. No matter what, it doesn't matter who doesn't. You
That's
have
kinda
to.
what I thought, yeah.
And before you can start dating, I didn't. Like,
What happened?
The people, well, if you don't know what schnitz is, that's in, like, I believe it's in the sex episode, the one where we talk about sex.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we talked about it in there. So it's like in an earlier episode, if you want to check that out. I think it's Amish Sex Protection. We talk more in detail about the schnitz. So it's like your first date ever within the Amish community.
And you're supposed to kiss.
Yeah.
You're supposed to kiss. It's supposed to be mandatory.
Yeah, and it's
and if you don't and you get caught, like, they find out that you didn't, they will make you do it down the road. I left the Amish at 18, so I was like in the youth 1.5 years before I left, and when they wanted me to get schnitzed, I kind of avoided it, you know? And then I dated someone for 10 months, and after I broke up with him, they found out that I hadn't been schnitzed yet, so they were going to make me do it anyways and everything. And they asked me on Sunday night, I left on a Monday night, and on Sunday night before I left, they asked me if they can bring this boy to my room so we can schnitz or whatever.
But what is the schnitz? I guess
it's just a kiss.
It's
literally.
just a kiss. So a boy is supposed to come kiss you.
Yeah, or vice versa.
Yeah.
And I said, yes, bring him. And then the next day I left the Amish, so I don't know. So, I don't know who they got to do that then.
So you never actually officially got the schnitz. So they actually tried to make me do the schnitz, and I think I shared part of this in that other episode. Was like when they tried doing that, I threatened to jump out a window, which was a 2-story. I think it was a 2 or 3-story house, and I didn't really care. And a couple of the boys caught me and pulled me back in.
Oh, wow!
And so it was brutal. Like I'll never forget that because it was dramatic for me in a way, and I was so pissed at my friends that they would do something like this, like against my will. I'm like, who the heck are you guys? And thankfully, my best friend wasn't along. Like he didn't really have anything to do with it. But yeah, so get past the first date, the schnitz.
Yeah.
But then there's another thing where if you like
forcefully tie you two together in a bed sheet.
Yeah, and Eli and I were talking about before we went on air. Eli and I were talking a little bit about that. Eli, would you like to explain like what happened within a community in doing that? Like, kind of give the audience the details of what they do.
Did you ever do that for someone?
I never was involved with any of that. I've heard about it, obviously. Well, the one story that circulated in the community at one point was they were using shrink wrap, and they wrapped them too tight and left them, and one of them actually died. That's pretty cool. It was a big thing, you know.
That is so
I remember that story too.
You remember that?
Yeah.
You do? What?
They actually did. I got tied into a bed sheet with a boy.
Okay, so what you guys are talking about is they call it, they tied the couple together in a bed sheet. I mean, there's a term for it within the Amish community. It's very common. You're dating. A couple could be dating for a year.
And they could
and a group of boys decides during their weekend partying, hey, this couple is like, they're like on a date tonight at the parents' house. Let's go over there and harass them. And so the group of boys, which I was along a few times, the more comical ones were when you showed up and they were so friendly, you just didn't have the heart to even start, doing anything. Or they were just willing. They'd just like cuddle up to each other. They wouldn't fight it or anything like that. And you're like, you guys are boring. Let's get out of here. But what it is a group of boys shows up at someone's house where the couple's already dating, and they take the bed sheet from the bed and they tie it together and they knot it together. And usually there's a big fight that breaks out. Like the girl tries to get away, the guy's like fighting, they're trying to get out of the room. I mean, it's
like if anybody has the least little bit of like whatever that's called, like when you're in a
self-defense?
No, when you're in a little room and you like panic.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
claustrophobic.
Yes, like if you're a little bit claustrophobic, that will just make you almost pass out.
Yeah, it's actually
I believe mean,
it's
really.
Very mean.
It's a different way of bullying.
Yeah, it is. It is because it's going against. I mean, in most cases, it goes directly against someone's will. Like. No, like in some of those cases where I said the couple doesn't really care, they've been dating a while, and like they're almost willing to be tied together because it just brings them closer. Yeah. And those are obviously not that way, but the ones I was involved with were, I mean, the one was, we didn't even do it because they were just, yeah, go ahead if you want to tie us together or whatever. Like, forget it. We'll move on to the next one. But that's one way. Like, so if you guys would have been dating within the Amish community, there's more than likely if that would have happened at some point in time, just for pure entertainment purposes. So you would have gotten real close.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, you enjoy that. Look at you guys. Newlyweds. Almost sitting on each other's lap.
Doesn't mean we would enjoy being tied together in a bitch.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's pretty awesome.
When it did happen, when I was still Amish, I almost panicked. I didn't know if I was going to come out of there alive.
So that happened to you where
Yeah.
they came and you were dating an Amish guy
Yeah,
and they came and tied you in the bed sheet.
yeah.
Yeah. And I guess that since we're on the topic, like, did you ever sleep with a guy where there was a board in between you?
No, we never had to have a
Yeah.
board.
So I know there's a lot of like information, or quite a bit of information, like floating out around on the internet of people saying that that's the way the Amish date. And there may be communities that do. I mean, we were amongst the most conservative community, and we never had that. We never had the board in between us when we were dating. And I don't know of any communities that practice that. Do you?
I don't.
I don't, but I think I don't like personally know couples. I know communities that are supposed to be Schwarzenegger Amish that will either have to have a board between them, or they'll have to be on a rocking chair, like sitting together.
Yeah, the rocking chair is pretty common, actually,
Yeah.
because my parents dated that way. So what we're talking about a board between is, imagine a queen bed, and there's like a board right down the middle of it, and it's like split into two beds. The man is sleeping on one side of the board and the woman's on the other side. And the idea here is to keep you from fornicating. and so stupid. Like, just sleep together, but don't sleep together.
No, like just cross the board.
Yeah, I imagine that happens a lot.
Yeah.
Or you lift the board up and whatever.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Anyway, so the other way is like, this is the way my parents, grandma and grandpa dated. I don't know if you knew this or not, but they sat on a rocking chair in their room, and rumors were floating around that they didn't always stay on the rocking chair. But they would sit, like, the guy would sit on the rocking chair, the lady that he's dating would sit on his lap. And supposedly this would keep you from clothes coming off and things happening that weren't supposed to happen. But can you imagine like an Amish woman wearing a dress sitting on your lap and you're like dating and you're teenagers? I'm sure that didn't turn out very well for them. But some communities have them sit in the living room, from my understanding, and they have to keep a light on at all times.
Yeah.
And most of the time the parents' bedroom is right off the living room, the
We-
way their houses are designed. So
We had to keep a light on at all times. Like, we went to bed, but we had to keep the light on at all times.
yeah, and that light would have been a kerosene lantern,
Yes.
burning
and-
dimly at night.
Yeah. And it would get kind of sticky and during the summer, or stinky because of like kerosene fumes.
Yeah.
And during the summer it would get really hot because you don't have AC and you have that kerosene lamp heating up the room yet. Like,
Yeah, can you imagine?
Gosh, it was not very fun.
And no hygiene.
Yeah, no deodorant.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so if you ever visit a Schwarzenegger Amish home and there's like all kinds of strange smells going on, that's why they don't use any hygiene. We all learned that after we left the Amish.
Yeah.
So you're dating, but you're dating long distance in the Amish community. What does that look like? Because you guys would have been in separate states.
So we would have written letters back and forth. Probably
Okay.
one
Well, that's
letter a
pretty
week.
romantic.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
the
mean,
whole
you'd
history of
have
letters.
your whole dating journey documented.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Quite literally.
Like,
And then every now and then, like every 2 months or so, one or the other usually take turns to go visit each other. And they take the bus or the train to that community. They usually try and make sure it's over the weekend so they can have a date Saturday night. So that was...
okay, so now you're dating you're like Eli has asked you out, you've said yes, you're dating. How does that change the relationship with your parents, Eli? Like, how does it change when she comes around? How does that change that relationship?
Well, I suppose it's same for the guy.
It's same for both.
Yeah, same for the guy or the girl. But
yeah, they can't talk to like she couldn't talk to my parents, or even
not supposed to.
Not supposed to, yeah, or even like look at them, or you're supposed to really avoid them.
So it was
same goes for you as my parents.
So if you're and correct me if I'm wrong, but this is based on my experience from dating. But if you're like, if Lovina, like, she doesn't come over in the middle of the day, it's in the evening after dark, and she would sneak up to your room. You guys would hang out for a while, and then, about 2, 3 in the morning, you're supposed to leave and go back home before it gets daylight.
Except it would be him coming to me, not
I guess. But if you're a long distance...
Yeah, but then I would go to one of my friends' houses, and he would have to come to me still.
Oh,
the girl never goes to the guy's house.
That's so true. Yeah. Even long distance.
Yeah, even long distance.
Within that community, you'd be staying at someone else's house, and it'll always be known, Eli's going over to so-and-so's house because Lovina's there. And...
Oh gosh.
It's kind of the drama of the community.
So then you would do that, but then you would, you would show up in a horse and buggy. Yep. You would hitch up your horse and buggy. You would get all dressed up. You'd have your hair done just right. You're shaved, and your buggy's washed. Your horse is all groomed and everything. You're probably gonna take a blue buggy whip because you're not supposed to have a blue buggy whip.
Really? That's the thing?
Oh yeah.
Okay, that's what they're always black.
They're always black, and you're rebellious if you take a blue one, but that would be kind of sexy to your girlfriend if you showed up with a blue buggy whip. This all sounds ridiculous, but this is actually true.
Yes, and the funny thing is the girlfriend will probably not even see the whip.
Yeah, more than likely not, unless you guys are going out.
Yeah, unless we guys are like it would be a church weekend, then I would get to see the whip. Yeah.
But, he's definitely going to make sure that it's there just in case. And he's possibly going to have, if he can get away with it, or he has one, he's going to have a harness that has some extra things on it.
Extra chrome.
for his horse that he wouldn't normally have. So, but those are all little details that I hope you guys enjoy. But then you're dating, and you're gonna decide to get married, but you're not gonna ask his parents if he can marry you, right?
I'm not sure how that goes.
You just decide you want to get married.
And you don't have to get approval from... I guess the approval happens when the dating starts, right? Or don't they?
They don't have to approve it. It's like, as long as you're a baptized church member, they don't care if you marry each other. So it doesn't have to be approved. You just decide you're going to get married, whether your parents like it or not. They have to pay for the wedding.
Yeah,
because the girl's parents always pay for the wedding, and something very weird that they do is they will not invite any of the husband's family except for immediate siblings and parents. That is the only...
Wow.
Yes.
Wow, I didn't even know
They will not invite any of the husband's side of the family except siblings and parents.
Yeah, I remember that.
No cousins or best friends or anything like that.
Yeah, they do make it all about the
girl that day, yes. But I think it's because the girl's parents are the ones paying for the wedding and hosting the wedding and everything.
But the girl's parents, the girl's side of the family, there's extended family. It turns out to be a big wedding. There's a lot of people that get invited to those weddings. So
everybody and their brother and their brother's brother is invited. Everybody gets invited.
Yeah.
Well, it's also a dating pool, a way of
of getting the young, and so they'll invite a bunch of youth from one community that isn't even related. So just like invite the youth because they're youth and they want to like get them to meet each other and have fun. But this, like their wedding, they won't announce their wedding until 10 days before it happens.
10 days before the wedding happens?
8 or 10 days before. So they only get married on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And they will announce it on a Sunday, and then they'll get married like Tuesday a week later or Thursday a week later.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You kind of know,
like it's
though.
a secret. Like, you can expect it, but it's supposed to be a secret.
Yeah. So, one way that you figure out if someone's about to get married, like you mentioned earlier, you have to be a member of the church.
Mm-hmm.
You both have to be a member of the church. So they're madly in love, Lovina and Eli. They're joining the church. They're getting ready to like really settle down and be good little Amish boys and girls. and then they're both, and this is where it gets interesting, because they're both planning on getting married, and then one gets in trouble.
Interesting.
And gets shunned.
And then
they have to postpone the wedding because one's in the bond and the other one can't get, like, the other one has to wait.
On the day of the wedding, like, once the couple is standing up by the preacher to get married, the preacher will literally say, if anyone in this room knows of anything that these two did that is against the church rules, please speak up. Because
I forgot about that part.
It's kind of like they say, if you agree with this marriage, or if you don't, whatever, forever hold your peace. It's kind of like battling, except it's, if you know that they broke a rule, please speak up, because then they can't get married.
Yeah. I wonder how many times that happens where they can't get married.
I don't think it ever happens.
I doubt it happens.
I've never heard of it happening. I bet it probably...
Imagine you'd because they spent the nights together, like the 10 nights before they get married, they spent together.
Oh,
but they're not supposed to have sex. So imagine you would go till the night before your wedding and you'd have sex and you'd get caught. Oh my word, would that suck.
Yeah.
You couldn't get married the next day. You have all this food and all these hundreds of people who traveled off.
That's pretty wild.
That would be a nightmare.
Yep. But they're pretty, at that point, I feel like most of them are pretty savvy on how they're going to go about having sex, or they just don't do it all together. And plus, they're supposed to wait 3 days after they get married. Did you guys wait 3 days after because you just got married? Lovina says no.
Well, we spent our wedding night in a hotel. Do you think we waited 3 days?
Oh, I don't need to know anymore.
So is there any logic behind this 3 days?
Yes. Okay, so they have a book called the Book of Tobias. It's not in a regular Bible, but they have this huge Bible. It's very thick and big. And they have the Book of Tobias in there. And in the Book of Tobias, he was a very much a Christian guy, a follower of God and everything. In the Book of Tobias, Tobias himself waited 3 days. He married a woman who had been married 7 times already. And every time, her husband died on the 3rd night that they got married. They got married, and 3 days later, the husband died in their marriage bed. And so when they got married, he married this woman, and he knew he was supposed to marry her and everything. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with what they did, because God wanted it to happen like that. But the Amish take it very literally, and they apply it to their own lives. God told him to wait 3 days before consummating the marriage.
Yeah.
And so they did. And the Amish think because he did it, they have to do it too.
I wonder how many times that actually happens.
Yeah, I'm curious, because who keeps track?
Does it actually...
Oh, yeah, they don't have a way of actually... Now, they do try to figure out... They don't have a way of actually knowing, but they do try to figure out if a baby was conceived.
Right.
They're very...
After.
Yeah, if it's, right after, I've heard of that in the community where, a strict preacher will try to figure out if they were...
But also, how do they figure out?
Ridiculous.
How do they know if the couple is using birth control or just can't have kids?
They have to have a sit down and
I'm sure they have a talk.
Oh my word, that would be.
It's so personal. Like they get right into every little detail of your life.
Yeah, they want to know. They want to know what's going on.
Yeah.
So there you have it. That's how you get to date.
Gosh.
And I don't know if did we leave anything out?
I don't know.
That the audience might want to know.
The dating we pretty much covered. Like,
please comment.
But
and with any questions that you guys have, like any rumors or any conspiracies that you've heard about the Amish dating life. Now, this is for the Swartz and Trooper community. Like, there's lots of different rules for different communities. For example, like an old order community, and in the old order community, they have a very respectful way of dating. Like, I mean, from my understanding, anyway.
From the way she talks about it, they expect them to go party once or a certain age. Like,
yeah, they do. Yeah, that's where the Rumspringen stuff comes from, and it's also where a lot of these TV shows, the type of Amish that are on these TV shows, like the Old Order, like Jeremiah Raber, he was an Old Order Amish.
The Swartz and Trooper Amish, there's very little information about them.
Yeah, it's like a secret society.
Because they're so far removed from the rest of the world. Yeah. But I don't know. Do we? I think we covered the dating pretty well, but the when they announce their wedding, like how they do that, they have to tell the bishop like, I don't know, a couple weeks beforehand, and then in church the bishop will announce, like, the day that they want him to announce it, he'll announce it that a girl and this boy are getting married. He will not say which day or whatever. You'll find that out later. And then they will, after he announces it, the boy will get up, go out, and get his horse and buggy ready, and the girl will follow soon after, get ready, and before church is over, they will leave church and go to the girl's house.
Mm-hmm. I remember that now.
And then Monday, like the next day after their wedding was announced, Monday they'll go get their marriage license. Like, they'll usually take the horse and buggy and go to their nearest courthouse and get their marriage license.
How romantic.
And someone asked me on my social media how they get a marriage license. And I'm like, I never thought about that. They don't have picture IDs.
Yeah, but it's just known within the Amish community. If you, if they probably bring some kind of record in, like maybe birth certificate or like some kind of record, they will bring it in. But within those communities, those communities, it's just established that if you're an Amish person, I mean, they have like specific questions that they ask. So you can't just go undercover Amish and pretend like you're Amish, but they are more relaxed with the laws in those communities.
It's almost like the county just like decides when the Amish move in, the county just has to decide, okay, we have to let this go.
Yeah. Wasn't it like religious exemptions?
Yes, and that's the same with their vaccinations. They're also exempt from that somehow.
Well, through the bishop. Like, it's the same way if you're a Christian and you have a religious exemption, you can get one from your church.
Oh, okay. I did not even know that. Yeah.
But you couldn't just declare you're a Christian.
But you can't. I mean, you could say, like, during COVID, you could say that goes against my religious beliefs. But if you like worked at a workplace and you wanted to prove it, you had to get a document signed from your pastor saying that that's against your beliefs. Or you have to bring some kind of document in supporting it. Okay. And that's the same way the Amish do. They have, their bishop will sign off saying that they don't believe in that stuff.
I don't know. I was just thinking about how, like, the marriage license signing and everything, like the day after the wedding, the bishop and a couple of his minions will go and
a couple of his minions.
I was thinking that song. Minions! Tonight we gather! Oh gosh.
Yeah.
And then what about the night of the wedding? The use thing that they have that goes. I've never actually participated, but like it.
Wait, you have?
No.
Like the games they play?
Yeah, the games and the weird stuff.
Oh, you want to play that game one night?
No.
You know, we could demonstrate it.
We
You
can
guys
really demonstrate it. I would like
How does
demonstrate
it
it
work?
just so like some of the Amish kids that are really curious about it can go online if they sneak a phone and watch it. Because I remember when I was so young, I tried so hard to figure out what they were doing, and
we should totally do that.
because it
That would
always
be fun.
sounded so mysterious, and then I joined, it was nothing. It's just boring.
So if you
Yeah,
guys want to
it's a
learn
big-
the games, you have to comment.
It's called
But-
Snap. They call it Snap.
yeah, Snap. But it's a game. It's like
It's a game
It's like this
just for,
secret game
Yeah.
for weddings,
Yeah.
and you don't get to participate in them until you're with the youth,
Yes.
and
if
you
you're
don't know
married-
any details about it.
Yeah, and if you're married, you can't participate in it. You can't play it unless it's at a wedding.
Yeah. And so, for a perfect example, Eli was never at a wedding, apparently, because he never participated. He
Yeah.
doesn't know the details of it because he
No
never
idea.
participated.
Yeah.
I participated, but I was, well, back then I
Yeah.
drank a lot because I was Amish, and
Cost you
Yeah.
Amish.
because I was Amish and it wasn't legal, and so I may have been at a few weddings participating in games that I didn't remember.
Yeah.
Did you join the youth in
Yeah,
April and then
I-
left in August?
I was supposed to use like 6 or 8 months, I think. Because I started at, because
You
I
were
started
not.
at 16 and a half.
Yeah.
So it was only like 3 or 4 months.
Okay.
Because you
I
would have,
was
if
thinking
you
it was
started at
16.
16 and a half, it would have been April.
Yeah.
And then you left in August. So
Yeah.
4 months.
So you left.
So
you left the Amish community. It's
So he
like
was
good
with the
4
youth the
months.
same amount of time that we dated.
But
Because
I
we started
never-
dating in April and then
the
got married in
same
August.
time period, like the same
Yeah.
months.
3 months,
That's
3
pretty
years
wild.
later.
Yeah. But I never, participated in any extra besides just the singings. The
Gotcha.
singings that they have every Sunday evening.
Yeah.
After
So
church or every other Sunday evening, I guess.
if you're in a wild and fun community, I mean, weddings were a blast for us.
Yeah.
we
heard
partied
stories.
so much during a wedding. It was horrible. Like usually by 6 o'clock in the evening, you were already well on your way to getting trashed. And so by dinner time, I mean, I remember going to dinner and barely remembering being at dinner. Like,
Yeah, the Amish
It's-
kids go because it's like drinking alcohol is a whole nother level of fun compared to
yeah.
your everyday life,
yeah.
and they go
And-
crazy on it.
And that's something that they keep in secret too. Like the parents are aware that that's probably going on, but everything's hidden. So usually a group of Amish boys and girls will go on their buggies, and somehow we would always find a way to get alcohol. And then we just go cruise around.
Which is kind of crazy because they don't really have any access to money, or they're not supposed to.
No, not really, but we would figure out ways. I remember putting our money together, like
Yeah.
a group of us putting our money together just to buy alcohol. And then we would just go cruising around out on the road, or we would go sit out behind the barn at the wedding and just sit there and drink. And then by the time we're supposed to go in, we're like trash.
Yeah.
And anyway,
Yeah.
I was definitely not one of the good kids back then. But
Yeah, I grew up in a
guys-
community where there wasn't a lot of that, but there was a couple instances where I had the chance to drink and kind of party, and we went fishing, and I got drunk enough. I was driving a 4-wheeler, I rolled a 4-wheeler. This is probably when I was 14 or 15.
wow.
But
That's crazy.
it only happened twice. Other than that, our community was it was a smaller community, and it was stricter, and it was kind of regulated and really hard to get liquor because it was pretty remote.
Wow.
But,
yeah, we had, and I won't mention any names, but we had a connection, like a non-Amish connection within the community that he literally like catered to us kids. Like, I mean, like we'd just order something like a radio or alcohol or whatever we needed, and he would get it. And we'd just go to his house and get the stuff that we need. Obviously, we'd have to pay him for it, but that was like such an easy way. He did eventually cut out the alcohol because kids were just like going nuts. Like, and you know, if you can imagine like 16-year-old kids getting trashed and doing all kinds of crazy stuff, which we did. But yeah, he eventually stopped supplying us with alcohol, but by then we had other connections.
But isn't it often ex-Amish connections, people that are outside?
Yeah, this was a complete like
English, like
non-Amish, never was Amish. He just lived within the community, really liked the Amish kids, and he wanted to help out. And I think he made a lot of money because he upcharged. So
he knew how bad
he knew how to make money off of us because we were desperate. And but yeah, a lot of times it is. I would call my brother after he left. I would call him. Hey, can you bring me some alcohol, or can you bring me this, or can you bring me that? And he would a lot of the times. And then yeah, I mean, I do want to clarify. Like that was in my teen years. Like at age 19 when I left, like everything changed for me. I didn't want to drink anymore, and I just didn't want to live that life anymore. You know, it seemed to be fun, but it was quite miserable, actually.
I agree. I experienced more of that when I left, probably for the first year or two, but I got tired of it.
You weren't like you.
No, I wasn't near as bad as a lot, but I also couldn't handle my liquor as well, so.
I handle it really well. Just drink it real fast and get trashed.
I just vomit and feel terrible the next morning.
Oh, trust me, I had some of the worst, hangovers where
it's not
you're just wanting to be dead. Like, get me out of here type hangovers. And then, why the heck did I do it? And then, like, 2 days later, like, I can't wait for the weekend.
Yeah.
Like, man, I don't miss those days at all. Miserable. But anyway, I think we're going to go ahead and cut this. Leave your comments, questions. Congratulate the newlyweds. They're quite cute in love. Hey, I did have one question for you. Any marriage advice for those, like, people that are going to get married?
Don't joke around about divorcing. We figured that out really fast.
Already?
I agree.
Oh, man.
I don't know. One day we were joking about it. I was like, this isn't funny. We better quit this.
Don't speak it into existence.
Don't speak it into existence. I have someone that I just thought I thought it was funny, but it kind of put things in perspective too. This couple has been married a long time, and we were talking about marriage, and I forget what we were talking about, but he just said, oh, yeah, that does remind me, we haven't yelled at each other about divorcing in a long time. Or something along those lines.
Like yelling?
We were just joking, but
we were jokingly be like, if you do this or you do that, and all of a sudden I was like, oh my gosh, we don't want that to happen.
If it's joking,
we better
still
stop talking about it.
Yeah, I think some people make it a very kind of a religious thing.
Yeah.
Like some people do say like, well, hey, we're not going to use the word divorce. And, sometimes like I feel like it's the thing that you try to shy away from so much ends up being the thing that you gravitate towards. So it's important to talk about it. Like
definitely. We definitely use the word divorce. We just don't joke around about it. Like it's not a joking matter.
Yeah, that's. I agree. It's pretty serious. If you want to stay married, you gotta figure out how to work things out. Figure out how to
work together.
How to deal with an annoying person.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's good for you.
Yeah.
It is. It's not near as easy as it was when you were single. You gotta work around other people. But it's I like it.
It's like I've lived together for the last 10 months, and all of a sudden I'm not living by myself. Or I lived by myself for the last 10 months. All of a sudden I'm not living by myself anymore, and
it shows, huh?
Things don't just stay where I put them.
Yep. They don't stay where you put them. They also, there's also another person in the house. Like,
yeah, it's different. It's awesome, but it's very different. Yes.
Yeah. I have a great solution. I have one of those like boxing bags. We can put it on your front porch, and every time you get frustrated about something, you just go out there and hit that sucker as hard as you can.
Get rid of it. Get it out of your system.
I love that boxing bag.
Yeah, well,
I need it on the back part.
Okay.
Y'all don't need a show.
Do you use it?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I mean, I'm past that.
The boys might use it.
No, I just love hitting it. Like,
yeah,
it's kind of like I don't know. Do you ever like get that urge when you were younger that you just want to bite someone? Like, you just want to bite them with all your might. I don't know. Do you ever get that urge?
I didn't get that urge.
I think it's intrusive thoughts, but still, it's like, how would it feel to just bite someone? Like, could you bite their finger off if you tried? Like.
Those
it's
are
like,
some very
like, could you? Could you?
I don't want to know. I honestly don't want to know, and I'm not sure if I feel safe sitting here right now.
Oh gosh, no.
This has been fun. All right, well, thank you for watching today's episode. Please remember to subscribe. We are making strides on our channel, and we greatly appreciate it. And we thank you for watching. We thank you for your comments. They've been very interesting. And we'll see you in the next episode.